On the full take. No, I'm sorry. You got me saying full take. Stand by on the Good Network, the Just Good Network, starring Jansen Harris and what's your name, boy?
Sean.
I'm sorry, Sean. Last name?
Fowler.
Sean Fowler. That's right. All right. We're gonna be coming in on the Just Good Network with Jansen Harris and Sean Fowler. Stand by in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Just want to give that a good clap so we can measure it up like I was telling him. All right, it's starting, right?
It's rolling, but I can stop
Okay.
it now if you want me to.
No, just keep it rolling. I'll just go right now. Not the first, not the second, not the third, but the final play on the Just Good Network. Jansen Harris here with Sean Fowler. Sean, what's up, man?
What's up, Jansen? How you doing?
I'm chilling. Big news in New York, Sean. Let's get right to it. Odell Beckham Jr., does he deserve the money he got? 5-year extension, $95 million, $65 million guaranteed. I always like to emphasize the guaranteed money because there's nothing like guaranteed. You break your leg tomorrow, something crazy happens, you get all that money.
Right.
How do you feel about his deal? Does he deserve it?
I think he does deserve it. He's the face of the New York Giants franchise. I think he's the superstar in New York as well. Again, he's the best player to me overall on that team. And again, me personally, I think he's a top 3 receiver. I think he's the 3rd best. And we've seen in the past that just because you get paid the highest in your position doesn't necessarily mean you're the best player.
Well, that's a life
in
lesson,
your
right?
position.
Life lesson.
And that's true. I mean, examples are Joe Flacco. He was just paid the highest paid for a quarterback, and he was paid the highest for a quarterback before. Ryan Tannehill, he had a huge contract. And I hate to even admit this, even though I think he's a top-tier quarterback. Matt Ryan, $100 million guaranteed, in this offseason as well. But a lot of people won't say he's the best overall quarterback. So Odell is the highest-paid receiver, but I don't believe he's the overall best receiver in the league. But I think he does deserve that money.
I agree with you, Sean. Odell Beckham Jr., plain say it right here, most marketable player in the NFL.
Definitely.
Nike giving him, like I mentioned the other day, $5 million a year for a shoe deal, highest in history for football players. Come on, man.
Yeah.
How many commercials does he have? You see this guy everywhere. The women love him. And even women who don't watch football, he attracts a different crowd. The one-handed catches. Talk about a big-time social media guy. He is the most popular player in this league. You do have guys like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Donald, who are great, probably more skillful, more talented players, but they don't have the marketability like Odell Beckham Jr. And Odell's a light player, a little bit immature, we know that, but he's going to grow. And now this assures him that he's comfortable. He can retire a Giant. To me, if they didn't get this deal done before the season started, there would have been some issues, Sean, some lingering issues. He spoke about it. He spoke about it to the media, how now he feels secure, he's comfortable with going out there, knowing he could put his body on the line, still get paid, his team is behind him, so it's a beautiful thing.
Definitely.
I just love it. Question number 2, Sean. This segment is for you, actually.
Okay.
Your fantasy guys.
Yeah.
Who are some of the guys you have for fantasy football, for all the fantasy football lovers out there?
Well, I'm going to give some names, and I didn't get these particular players, but I'll say for the fantasy people who aren't really familiar with exactly what that is. Basically, it's, you draft NFL players, you try to get as many points as you can with the players you pick up. So these are the players to look out for if your fantasy draft hasn't started yet. And I'll say Antonio Brown, obviously, because to me he's the best receiver in the game. He's the most consistent. He's going to be getting a plethora of passes. He's going to score touchdowns. The key in fantasy is to score touchdowns because that's where you get most of your points from. Another guy I look at is Russell Wilson. I like trying to get dual threat quarterbacks for my fantasy team because, they can either throw a touchdown, obviously, or they can run. And Russell Wilson, another consistent quarterback, he plays, again, obviously very consistent week in and week out. You can expect a plethora of points with him. And when it comes to running back, that's probably besides the quarterback, that's probably a key position is the running back, and I'll just try to get the best running back or the most accomplished running back as I can. So look out for David Johnson, Ezekiel, Le'Veon Bell. They're going to get a lot of touches.
Let me say this about Russell Wilson. Another factor, he did lead his team in rushing last year. Am I correct?
He did.
Is that one of the reasons why you're putting him up there? Because I wouldn't say he's the best receiver. I know You know
best
fantasy
quarterback.
better than I know. Yes,
Right.
excuse me, best quarterback.
All right. I mean, but again, Russell Wilson, I think he's elite. I mean, if you can have Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady, Russell Wilson again, like you mentioned, with him rushing as many rushing yards as he has, that is the reason why I picked him, because he can get it done on the ground as well, and that just helps, with the points.
But looking at it, will he be a 4,000-yard guy though, Sean?
Overall,
4,000 yards
Or just-
passing.
passing?
Passing. With
I
the
mean-
receiving core isn't really the strongest in the world.
it's not, but I think he can get it done. 4,000 yards, it might be a challenge, but if anyone can do it, I do believe Russell Wilson can do it. You still have I think Doug Baldwin's a top 10 receiver. I believe he is. Now, Brandon Marshall, he was out most of the year last year. He's on the team. I think he can help as well. But those are probably the only. Well, you got Tyler Lockett, but he's not necessarily a true receiver. He's more of a gadget type of guy. But I think Russell Wilson, he can get it done. I think probably 3,800 yards, I'll say.
You didn't mention Ben Roethlisberger, who I'm high on this year, who has some of the best weapons. Juju Smith,
Right.
Antonio Brown, a guy you mentioned, Le'Veon Bell. Why is that? Why don't you like him?
Well, I had some history with Big Ben. I'm not saying he's a terrible pickup, obviously, because I still do think he's a top 5. But my history with Big Ben is, again, I like more dual threat quarterbacks who can get it done through the air or on the ground. So Big Ben, he can run as well, but he could be inconsistent. Like last year, I feel sorry whoever had him. I think it was week 5 when they played against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He threw 5 interceptions, and that kills on fantasy. If you're throwing 5 interceptions,
Absolutely.
it's negative points. And then he also gets hurt a lot. He tends to get hurt a few times. He's not really going to – he probably won't complete a full 16 games like this year. So that's why I wanted to get Big Ben, say my first 3 rounds. But, I mean, if I have to get him, I can.
I'd rather have Cam Newton
Yeah.
over Russell Wilson. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
Personally,
wow.
I feel like passing yards,
Mhm.
they'll be just about equal. Cam Newton, even though I have my critique when it comes to him, Cam Newton will get more done on the ground when it comes to touchdowns. To me,
That's fair, but he also might turn over the ball as well. I mean, and it's,
he'll throw more interceptions than
he'll
Russell
throw more
Wilson. I'll give you that.
interceptions, yeah. And it's ironic because I did Cam Newton was available in the 3rd round. I did end up drafting Cam Newton, so he is on my team.
Okay, talk to me a little bit about Deshaun Watson.
Mhm.
How do you feel about Deshaun Watson coming off that ACL injury, fantasy-wise?
And I have him as a name too. I had him on my fantasy team last year, and coming in this year, it depends. I mean, obviously, it depends if he can stay healthy. I think, he's definitely been, in the rehab, and I think he should be. Well, he's been playing the preseason, so he is looking to start week 1. He'll definitely be a big contribution towards the Houston Texans this year, and the best is yet to come. He has tremendous upside. Again, I always.
You're weary about
Yeah.
his
I'm a
him
little
coming back from
weary.
the injury.
I'm a
That's
little
what it
weary.
sounds like to me.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about him coming back from the injury because I think he had an injury like that in college before.
Yes.
So, he is a dual threat. I keep saying that because he can run. He has a strong arm as well. But I'm a little weary.
He did lead the league in
hopefully-
touchdown
yeah,
passes before he was hurt
Yeah.
as a rookie. That's extremely
it is.
impressive.
It is impressive.
Very young, so that's why the injuries I'm not too concerned on.
Right.
I think he'll bounce back. I'm a little bit more patient with him than I am at Andrew Luck.
Really?
Yes, just because he's a little bit younger.
Yeah.
I love what I've seen him in his first year,
Mhm.
so a little bit patient with him. I like Deshaun Watson. Personally, I feel like his upside for next year, healthy in a weaker AFC conference than a Russell Wilson and a Cam Newton,
Sure.
he'll pass for more yards.
Mhm.
That'll be my bold prediction. I think it's a good fantasy pickup, especially
Definitely.
after the first couple of games, him just getting
He gave me
incorporated
40
back.
He gave me 42 points last year in one game.
Yeah, last year, people probably didn't see that coming either, and he was definitely a fantasy stud. Any other wild card guys that we should look out for?
I'll say Melvin Gordon. He's an underrated running back.
Okay.
He gets the job done as well for the Los Angeles Chargers. He can give you a lot of points. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of any more. Again, I named Antonio Brown, Russell Wilson, Ezekiel Elliott, Deshaun Watson. Guys like Odell, who's going to get passes as well. He's usually going within the first round.
Ooh, something just hit my head. Julio
I was just about to
Jones.
say that too. I was just about
Well,
to say that.
hold on
Yeah.
one second. Let me
Yeah.
say this because I already know.
You already know.
Let me say I seen this on a lot of people's lists.
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins,
DeAndre
right?
Hopkins, yeah.
Many people are putting DeAndre Hopkins higher than Julio, really saying those 3 touchdowns last season, this ain't no damn fluke. We think we're getting 3 to 5 this year
From Julio.
from Julio. And
Yeah.
again, people consider me a Falcon hater
Mhm.
for some reason,
It's okay.
but I'm saying Julio could get you 10 touchdowns next year.
I hope he can. hope
Is
he-
that
I
realistic?
hope he
Is
will.
that realistic?
I hope
If
he
you
will.
get us 10, then he's a fantasy stud, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And like the thing with Julio is he's not necessarily the most consistent fantasy receiver, even though I think he's arguably the best receiver in the game or second best. It doesn't always translate into being a great fantasy player because again, fantasy is about scoring touchdowns, and that's why if you have Julio, he might have 10 receptions in the game for 90 yards, but that's only equivalent to 9 points compared to if he gets a touchdown, that's 15. So somebody can have less receiving yards but more touchdowns and have, as many points as that. So Julio isn't, I wouldn't be so up to, I have to get Julio Jones my first pick just because he hasn't really scored a lot of touchdowns in the past. But, I mean, it still is Julio Jones. He might have a breakout game like he did against the Carolina Panthers a few years ago, having over 300 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, and like he did against last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and having over, again, 250 receiving yards and a few touchdowns. So he has his breakout games, but I want to be so up to get him as my first pick.
Okay, I like the breakdown, Sean. All the fantasy players out there, look at Sean's lineup, evaluate it, pick some of the guys he picks. I think I'm going to do it too as well. Watch out for Deshaun Watson. I'm telling people, get him. Le'Veon Bell, get him. People don't like it, but Big Ben Roethlisberger, get him. I'm telling you, MVP-like season.
Big Ben.
Yes. We got to move on, though.
That's fine.
Aaron Judge, he claims he's going to be able to play with his wrist not fully healed. Yankees kind of misplayed the situation, thought he would be back sooner than he was. To me, since the season isn't starting next week, we don't have to worry about Aaron Judge coming back in the lineup. I think the Yankees, they have a lot of bats still. This is a deep bullpen. They'll be okay. This is a team that's top 10 in ERA right now. This is a team that has the most home runs in the major leagues, which is impressive. My concern, though, with the Yankees has nothing to do with Aaron Judge right now. They got 2 big concerns right now, Sean. You know what that is? They got Red Sox problems. What happened to them earlier this month?
Good old robbery.
Yes, what happened to them earlier this month? They got swept. They blew a 4-1 lead.
Ouch.
I don't like that. They need to be able to close games against a Red Sox team that is projected to win a good 115, 116 games. So when it comes to that, they're going to need to step up. And this team right now, they don't hit as many home runs on the road. Now, I'm not really trying to critique them and be like, oh, okay, Yankees can't hit on the road. I'm just saying they don't hit as effectively on the road, Sean.
Right.
So guess what? Playoff time, they're not going to win it doesn't look like they're going to win the division, right? So they go on the road in the playoffs. Hitting is going to be a factor. It's going to be a factor. Now, Aaron Judge, young guy, believe he's going to come back, let's say 3-4 weeks from now, right? I want to see how he's going to fit back into the rotation. Is there going to be some type of game rust with him?
Right.
Do you feel? How do you feel about the situation?
Well, and I think with Aaron Judge's wrist, I feel like it can be detrimental if it's not fully healed because you can almost evaluate that sort of like how in the NFL with the torn ACL. It could be just as detrimental because in baseball, if your wrist isn't healed properly, you're throwing the ball so much, it could really be a bad effect towards the team if it's not fully healed because it's so much throwing of the ball. It's not going to help the team out. And just like you said with the Yankees and the Red Sox, with that rivalry and how they let them come back from was it a 4-1 lead?
Yeah, they were up. Yeah, and they got swept in that series.
So he's going to be pivotal for the Yankees. I just hope he comes back fully healthy because they're definitely going to need him.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need him. But again, fully healthy Aaron Judge doesn't solve Red Sox problems. And that's exactly what the Yankees have, or Red Sox problems. Which to their defense, everybody has Red Sox problems because they just keep damn winning. I'm just saying Aaron Judge isn't
He's
the
not
reason.
he's not
There's other things that are going to play a factor. But to me, we'll see how this plays out because, again, they thought he would be back sooner, Sean.
Right.
Aaron Boone thought, their manager, they thought he would be back sooner, so the timetable's a little bit iffy. We'll see how things work out. Back to the NFL, more pressure to win next season. Falcons and Eagles, they happen to match up next weekend in the NFL kickoff Thursday game in Philadelphia. Matt Ryan is making $30 million, right? Is he?
$100 million guaranteed.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. I'm glad you mentioned that. So when we talk about pressure, it starts with Matt Ryan. Like Jansen says, every other damn show. Matt Ryan and all that money guaranteed. The quarterback position for the Falcons. And I love this number, too, that people need to talk about. They talk about the quickest to 40,000 passing yards, which I like that. That's okay. But guess what, Sean? We're talking about 4-6. 4-6 in the playoffs, that's not good enough. They need to get the job done. Dan Quinn, 4th year. 29-19, pretty good. I like Dan Quinn as a coach.
Right.
Defensive mastermind. He's going to have this Falcons defense playing in the top 5. 3-2 in the playoffs. That's pretty good, but I got that. It's a sour taste in my mouth from the Super Bowl, Sean. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I still feel that too.
You still feel that? It's disgusting.
Still no.
It's weird because it's like, let me compare it to some food. It's like you eat, the ham is good. The macaroni's good. The soda's pretty good. Everything is good and gets to the dessert. What happens, Sean? You eating that rum cake and what? It's disgusting. You get to the end and it's nasty. And that's what's going on with the Falcons. It's like they're really good team. Yeah. Matt Ryan, I've criticized them before. Numbers-wise, he put up some pretty good numbers. We could talk about that.
You sound like an undercover fan.
No. I mean, we're in Atlanta, so they're okay. They're okay. But I'm a Jets fan.
Okay.
Hadn't got the job done. Dan Quinn, in most people's eyes, he's an okay coach. I think he's a really good coach. But, hey, this is a team that can potentially win a Super Bowl.
The clock is ticking.
Right? The clock is ticking. And let me not forget about my one friend, Mr. Julio Jones. They just added $2.9 million to his deal. Sean, I need more than 3 touchdowns. I need him to be fully healthy.
Definitely.
So the pressure is definitely on the Falcons. Has to be. The Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl.
And I would agree with that. I mean, the Falcons, they should have more pressure. I mean, these two teams played the New England Patriots the last 2 Super Bowls, and I hate to say it, the Falcons are playing not to lose, and the Eagles are playing to win the Super Bowl. And that's why they won 4 in the 4th down, conversion late in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl, and they just got the job done. But yeah, the Falcons should have more pressure onto them in the upcoming season. But for the Eagles, though, let's think about it though. I mean, Carson Wentz, he technically he didn't really lead the Eagles to the Super Bowl last year. That was Nick Foles. So we all know that of course, he's the franchise.
Hold on, there's no technically about it, Sean. He didn't play in the playoff. There's no
technical. He didn't. I'm just saying he led him to the playoffs. But he didn't lead him to the Super Bowl. Nick Foles is the Super Bowl MVP, and he took control of that team. So again, the question is for the Philadelphia fans is how healthy is Carson Wentz? And again, I hope the best for Carson Wentz. Hopefully not, in week 1 if he's even playing. But if he's not looking like the Carson Wentz we've seen from last year, and he's struggling like he did his rookie season, look, the Philadelphia fans, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. So it's definitely going to be some controversy. So I'm just saying.
I'll never forget that.
It's true. Philly fans don't play. So if Carson Wentz is struggling, it's not. I don't think it's going to be pretty. And they're going to look. I'm just saying, if he's struggling and Nick Foles is on the bench, and you might hear from the Philly.
This is what you're going to hear.
Nick Foles
Jansen reenacting Philly fans. We want Nicky.
Hey, exactly.
We want Nicky.
Saint Nick will be there too.